Hey guys, JH. Welcome to Practice Tea. And it's not super windy today. It's actually only probably 30 kilometers an hour. So it's pretty good. Okay guys. Now, I think I've got pretty close to perfecting this fast backswing golf swing. And I've just added something to it in the last couple of days that I think will make it basically foolproof. Totally automatic and completely foolproof. Okay, so we've got a very automatic process going on now, in that all we're doing is firing this back as fast as we can, and we're letting the body react as it wants to and as it should in the downswing. Whatever it wants to do, we're just letting it do it. But I've added something to that, which I think, although it's adding something and it's taking away a little bit of the automaticness of the swing, it's what I call a turbo-charged edition. And that is, guys, what we're going to do, we're just going to create enormous, what I call velocity torque on the downswing. Now, hard to understand this, but there's tremendous velocity involved in the downswing, and there's great torque as well. Now, it comes about by utilising what I call the two centres of operation in the golf swing. And the first centre is right there between the shoulder girdle, which is basically the sternum right there, and the second one is right between the hips, which is the pelvis here, right there, just below the belly button, but dead center. There's two centers there. Now, what you don't want in the golf swing, in the downswing, or even in the backswing to an extent, but in the downswing, you don't want those two centers operating at the same rate on the downswing. Simplistically explained, you want one of them delayed. And the one that you want delayed is the sternum, or the upper center point. And again, I'll be as simplistic as I can, but guys, but what we really want to achieve is essentially this. I'm going to take it back to here, and on the downswing, this center is going to, as a feeling, is going to stay there, pointing that way, and this center here is going to go there. And we want to get as much separation as we possibly can between the two centers. We want this center moving there and this center staying there. If I had a pointer on this center here, it would be pointing that way. And if I had a pointer, and I'll get another pointer because I want to make my point here. This is the bottom pointer, and this is the top pointer. Now, if I go to the top of the swing and I've got my coil, I want this section moving here and this one delaying. So the hips are turning and the center here is resisting. I don't want these two coming down at the same rate at all. So what is the feeling? The feeling is that your shoulders are staying profoundly closed on the downswing while your hips are opening up at an incredible rate. Just an amazing rate. There, that's what it feels like. And guys, it's a move that you see in every great player, or every good ball striker. They really do evacuate the hips very, very quickly. And Hogan did it probably better than anybody. But most of the young guys today on the tour do it amazing because they're very flexible. Now guys, when you get your hips evacuating on the downswing, you've got to keep the evacuation up. And then once they start, they've got to keep going. Now, one of the guys that did it better than anybody was Gary Player. And that's why we saw Gary Player at the end of his swings like this. Because once he started his hips, and if you have a look at his swing in slow motion, his hip was just going so hard and it kept going. And he wanted it to go over here. I used to get behind students, and I get behind them and I grab their hips. I was standing behind them. And on the downswing, I say, come down, then I go like that. And they couldn't believe how much the hip motion was exaggerated and how fast it was and how their arms lagged as a result of that. I'd say go to the top of the swing, get here and stop, and I just get behind them and I turn those hips, and they'd feel that every time, because this centre here was pulling on this centre. But you never let the two go together. And it'll only be insignificant, guys. It won't be a great, depends on your flexibility. Some girls, the females, you watch them on the LPGA, they can get to here and they've got their hips turned out of the way 45 degrees and the shoulders are still closed. But they're very flexible in the midriff, and some of the guys are. So the whole point here that I'm talking about is that we want on the down, once we've got that happening on the backswing, we want that happening on the downswing. Now it's a deliberate move on the downswing, and what I was saying with the fast backswing, golf swing, that the downswing becomes automatic. Now it does, but if you want to really get some turbocharging into the downswing, you really need to get that hip action going. So it's essentially this, guys. We've got the backswing here, and I want to feel that hip action is so dramatic that it could actually keep me spinning. Would just keep me spinning if I, well, Gary Player and Hogan, early Hogan, before he had the accident, there's some videos of early Hogan back in the 40s. Like, he would hit a drive and he'd be off balance. Hogan off balance. That's because he used to clear his hips so hard and so fast, the evacuation was so incredible, that he just kept going that way and lost his balance. And some of those are on YouTube, guys. Some of the Hogan from the 40s, when he had like a 26-inch waist. I'll do my warm-up. Oh, that's it. Very hot here today, guys. Fahrenheit's probably 95 degrees. So, now, this fast backswing. Names. My son was just watching it the other day, and he walked in and he was looking at some videos, and he heard me say, guys, we haven't got a name for this golf swing. Come up with a name. He just tapped me on the shoulder and said, Dad, Flashback. I said, that's great. He said, well, that's what you're doing. The club's just flashing back. And one of the guys on the channel came over the two. It might have been Nat McIntosh, I'm not sure, but one of the guys actually mentioned Flashback after my son mentioned it. So, guys, we've got Flashback, which is really what it is. This swing is a flashback, and it could be a flashback to the past. Because a lot of the guys back in the old days had very fast backswings. Abe Mitchell, the guy on the top of the Ryder Cup, incredibly fast backswing. Gene Sarazen. A lot of the guys back in those days. So we'll call it the Flashback for the time being. We'll come up with something else, but I mean, Flashback's pretty good. So, all I'm thinking about, and what I found, guys, by getting these two centres, this one moving this way and this one resisting, boy, was I getting some. It was very, very windy here yesterday. Incredibly windy. And we were out here at about, I don't know, probably 175 yards, hitting dead into the wind here at that green there, and it was just crosshead, just absolutely blitzing. And we were just flying the ball over the green. But we were only hitting 6 irons. They were just ripping over the green. You wouldn't believe it. You know, they were like 180, 185 fly 6 irons with no wind. So that's what we've got to do, guys. So okay, so this is the flashback. So here we go. We're going to flash it back, and then we're going to turn the other way. Thanks, mate. That's the old tank commander's just brought me out some refreshment. Thanks, mate. I won't be long, I'll be about 10 minutes. Yeah, so the flashback, and in the flashback, guys, I take it back with my right hand. I just pull it back. I just pull it back like that. And by pulling it back, I get a little bit of lag, a little bit of yogi lag, but that's what I do. Okay, and the other thing, guys, that I've evolved into, because I was really big on Trevino's swing for a long time, years back. And I used to just like the aspect of being open, aiming the body left and hitting right, which is essentially all he did. And so I've actually opened up my stance significantly, my body line, and I'm taking the club back on the body line, which is, for all intents and purposes, outside the ball, but it's only on the body line. And it's giving me a little bit of a steep shoulder turn, which is good, but I've got a lot of freedom in my hips by being open. What do we got here? We've got 5 on here, guys. First swing of the day. So we're going to flash it back, and we're going to evacuate those hips really quickly and try and keep the shoulders close. Now, guys, first shot of the day. Now, you'll know you've got your hip out of the way if it's ending up over here. Now, I've always been a hip staller. That was a great shot, by the way. I've always been a hip staller. I tend to be someone that stabilises at the hip and don't rip the hips out of the way. But I think if we can actually incorporate what I call a hip rip, it's a hip rip here, and keep the shoulders shut, I think we're really onto something. So we're going to flash it back. Look at this, guys, look. You know when you're out of the way, when you're over here. You know when you're out of the way. Now that's what I like about this swing. It's very automatic in terms of what the body does. I don't have to think a lot about it. The only conscious thought I've got now on the downswing is evacuating the hips. Rip it back, Jay. Look at this, guys, look. Yeah. Club's still in front of the body. Now, what happens there, when it's still in front of the body, it means that the club has been towed into the ball by the body pivot. Not so much throwing it in with the hands, as being towed in by the body. And towing is a good description, because you want to feel you're always towing the club in. You can be throwing it, but towing it, I think, is better. Okay, come on, Jazz. Rip it back and then get those centres working. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Oh, I hope you can hear that noise. Oh, was that contact? Was that contact? I'm loving this swing. I'm loving it. Yesterday, the wind we were hitting into, it's unbelievable. And the power I had here, I hit a couple of proper golf balls, my own ones out of my bag, my Titleist, and when we went down after we'd finished, they were way by the green. It was just fantastic. Just unbelievable. So it's very simplistic, guys. I take it back with the right hand and just turn this centre here as fast as I can and resist with this centre here. So effectively I want to look like that as a feeling, which most of the young guys, you know, look at Rory, anybody, Justin Thomas, any of those guys that are flexible, they all look like that. Come on, Jace, give it a hit. Okay, now rip it back. Now this open stance, guys, rip it back. Look at this, guys, look at this, look. Look where the club is, look. Way over here. Now the right side is getting over dramatically, but it's being pulled over by the lead side. I'm not driving the right side, I'm driving the lead side, which gets the lead shoulder up, right shoulder down, into out club path. Whereas if you drive with your right side, you can actually get the right shoulder high, or the trail shoulder high, the lead shoulder low, and you can get over the ball. I can't get over the ball at all. My standard ball flight, guys, is just dead straight to a tiny little power draw. That's the ball flight. But they're just beautiful, beautiful shots. Look at this, guys. Look, look, look. Tell you when it comes down. Now. This is an old guy swing. An old dude. Okay, the backswing's not long because there's a lot of torque in the golf swing. But the good thing about being it long, it can't get off line. That's the great thing about it. Of course, it's short, it just doesn't get off line. That's the wonderful thing about this. But I can still generate more power than I ever have before. Come on, Jason. Flash it back, get the hips. It's Thunderdome stuff, guys. You just get so much crack on the ball. Now, I've got a really stiff shaft in my driver. Like really stiff, like almost double X. And yesterday I felt like it was going to break, even off my little golf swing, because I was just stressing it so much. Okay. The old tank commander's waiting for me, guys, so I'll just get this done. But the basic message is, take it back with the right hand, try and keep this closed and evacuate that lead hip as much as you can. And feel like almost like the lead hip has got a bungee cord attached to the back of the lead shoulder, and it's going to pull that lead shoulder around on the downswing. Okay, come on, Jace, put a really good one on. And this open stance is helping with the evacuation, guys. Now, guys, all those balls there, with no exaggeration, if there was a green up there, a small green, they'd all be on the green. And it could be a small green, because, you know, that's 20, 30 foot circle stuff. Well, I'm warmed up now. I'll really accentuate getting those hips out of the way. Fire it back, Jason. Look at this guy. Look, look, look. Look where I am here, look. Huh. That feels great. Okay, I got a bit of a secret. I've been doing some what we call nipple crushers on the leg press machine. Not putting much on, only putting about, 40 kilos each side, maybe 80 kilos overall. But the range of motion, when that leg press machine comes back, the knees come through and they actually push into the nipples in the chest. Push in as hard as you can. And guys, it's really got my hip extensors, because I'm really tight in the hip extensors, but it's freed them up. As you can see, I'm getting a lot of hip rotation because of that. Now that's just part of a program that I'm doing at the moment to get some hip extensor flexibility. Come on, Jason. The open stance is great, guys. Throw it back. As I say many times, guys, I could tell you anything, but they're just majestic golf shots, and they're all the same. Let's just hit a couple of drivers now that I'm warmed up. I actually broke my normal program. I normally start off with the driver. So watch this, guys. And this shaft is like 280 CPM, so it's really stiff. Open that open stance. Fire it back, Jace. Look at this, guys, look. That's Gary Player. I don't care what it looks like. That ball flight's unbelievable. I don't care what it looks like. I just want to evacuate as quick as I can. Fire it back, Jace. It's a great feeling, you know why? because you know you're never going to hit the ball left. For a right-hander, you just won't hit it left because your shoulders are always closed at impact. Slightly closed, so the club path is in to out. And guys, I strengthened my grip a little bit, but I'll talk about that in some other videos. That's part of my Trevino mechanics. Fire back. Wow. Club's not going back far. I'm not trying to take it back far. Just trying to torque it up. Yeah, I still really pull hard with the lead hand. Oh, absolutely. That's a cornerstone, guys. Come on. Fire it back down. Oh. Feels fantastic. Feels fantastic. One more. Come on. Back really quick, Chase. Flashback. Wow. Okay, it's ungainly because I'm using I'm using everything I got. Well, I'll just smooth it out a bit. Come on, fire back. It's fantastic. Okay guys, so the basic message is 2 centers, one here in the pelvis, one in the chest, in the sternum. We want the sternum one, the center facing that way, and the pelvis one facing that way, as much as we can. Keep it resisted and keep it evacuating as much as we can. You just get so much elastic recoil, guys. That's the advantage. They've got blue sky. I'll just have a look, see what it's like with the camera. And I might hit a few shots down range if I can get the light right. But if not, I'll be back in the coming days and there'll be a lot of new stuff. I'm going to talk about the grip, talk about more about the open stance, the towing of the club, a few things extra. But if it's any good here today with the blue sky, I'll hit a few shots down range. Yeah, that was fantastic, wasn't it? Oh, man.